Chika and Tony were best friends. Tony always admired his friend Chika. Chika was very rich, and whenever he was in town, he would take Tony out for drinks and give him money. One day, Tony asked Chika to show him what business he could do to get rich like him. "I can tell you," Chika said, "but you have to be ready mentally. When you're ready, give me a call." Tony couldn't sleep that night, wondering what Chika meant by needing to be mentally ready. "Chika knows I'm ready to make money," he thought. Why is he saying this? Determined, Tony decided to call Chika the next day. Chika answered, "I cannot come to you, but it's okay, we don't have to meet." "Is there a river in your area?" Tony was confused. "I want to make money and he's talking about rivers. What do you mean?" Chika laughed. "Don't worry. Why I'm asking is because it will help you." "Well, I do," Tony said. "In fact, the river is not very far from where I am." "Okay," Chika said. "Go to the river. When you get to the riverbank, call me again." Still confused, Tony went to the river. When he got to the riverbank, he called Chika on his mobile again. "Now that you're standing near the river," Chika said, "I want you to go inside the river." Tony listened, still confused and getting annoyed. He didn't understand why Chika was telling him to go to the river when he knew Tony couldn't swim. As he looked at the river, he got scared because he could see crocodiles in the water. "I'm not going to go inside the river to be killed by crocodiles," Tony told Chika on the phone. "Don't worry," Chika said. "These crocodiles won't eat you. As soon as you go inside the river, they will move away." "How is that possible?" Tony asked. "Do as I say," Chika insisted. Tony went into the river. The crocodiles moved away from him as he got deeper. As Tony waded into the river, he felt a mix of curiosity and apprehension. The sight of crocodiles moving away from him was both a relief and a cause for concern, heightening his anxiety as the water reached his waist. His nervousness grew with each step, the cold water sending shivers down his spine. Suddenly, a force pulled him deeper, and panic set in as he was dragged beneath the surface. Underwater, Tony's fear turned to shock and bewilderment. Instead of the murky depths he expected, he found himself in a surreal, dry cityscape. The normalcy of the people, buildings, and cars around him contrasted sharply with his previous surroundings, leaving him utterly confused. His mind raced, trying to make sense of this impossible situation. Before he could gather his thoughts, one said, "Welcome, we have been expecting you." Tony was ushered into a meeting with dwarf-like figures who seemed to have been anticipating his arrival. Their calm demeanor and welcoming words did little to ease his confusion. They handed him a fishing rod and instructed him to catch fish in the river, promising financial rewards for his efforts. Tony thought to himself that this is an easy task, just catching fish. This is when Tony realizes this is real and he's here to make money like his friend Chika. He cannot leave now until he makes money. Tony's emotions were a whirlwind of fear, confusion, and a strange sense of duty. The bizarre turn of events left him feeling disoriented, yet the dwarf's instructions gave him a task to focus on, providing a small anchor amid the chaos. As he took the fishing rod, he couldn't shake the feeling that his life had just taken a profoundly unexpected turn. Tony, still grappling with the surreal nature of his surroundings, decided to follow the dwarf's instructions. He took the fishing rod and made his way back to the river. As he cast his line into the water, he couldn't help but feel a mix of determination and bewilderment. To his surprise, the fish in this underwater city were unlike any he had seen before. They shimmered with vibrant colors and seemed almost magical. Each catch brought a sense of accomplishment, and as promised, he began to accumulate money. The dwarf's words echoed in his mind, giving him a strange sense of purpose in this bizarre world. As Tony continued fishing, he noticed that the people around him were watching with interest. Some even approached him, offering tips and encouragement. Despite the oddity of the situation, Tony felt a growing sense of community and support from these unusual inhabitants. Hours passed, and Tony's initial fear and confusion began to fade. He found a rhythm in his task, and the once daunting environment started to feel almost familiar. The dwarfs occasionally checked in on him, their presence a constant reminder of the strange circumstances that brought him here. Just as Tony was beginning to feel at ease, a sudden ripple in the water caught his attention. He turned to see a large, shadowy figure approaching. The dwarfs' expressions turned serious, and they hurriedly gathered around Tony, their previous calm replaced with urgency. "Tony," one of them said, "you must be careful. This is no ordinary fish. It's a guardian of the river, and it will test your resolve." With a deep breath, Tony prepared himself for the challenge ahead, realizing that his adventure was far from over. Just as Tony was beginning to feel at ease, a sudden ripple in the water caught his attention. He turned to see a large, shadowy figure approaching. The dwarf's expressions turned serious, and they hurriedly gathered around Tony, their previous calm replaced with urgency. To his shock, as the figure emerged from the depths, he saw his father's face staring back at him, the fishing rod hooked painfully in his tongue. Panic surged through Tony as he realized the gravity of the situation. His father, who had been missing for years, was somehow entangled in this bizarre underwater world. Without hesitation, Tony dropped the fishing rod and dove into the river, swimming with all his might towards his father. The dwarfs shouted warnings, but Tony's focus was solely on saving his father. As he reached him, he carefully removed the hook, tears mixing with the river water as he embraced his father Samuel. Tony and his father were very close. Samuel had always been a man of few words but great wisdom. He carried a heavy burden that he had inherited from his father, a family curse tied to a mysterious river. Samuel had spent his life trying to protect his son, Tony, from the same fate. Years ago, Samuel had discovered the river's secret. It was a gateway to a hidden world, a place where immense wealth could be found but at a great cost. As Tony grew up, Samuel kept a close watch on him, always steering him away from the river and its dangers. He never spoke of the curse, hoping that ignorance would be Tony's shield. This is when he found himself lying on the bank of the same river near his home with a sense of relief to realize it wasn't real. He woke up, wet, and tried to look for his phone, but it was missing. Tony was left with an emotional roller coaster of fear and confusion. The adventure under the river was a turning point for Tony. He walked home, confused about what he had just seen, part of him thinking it was his imagination. At that moment, Tony decided to visit his father. When he got to his home, Tony found his father gravely ill, his tongue swollen and his eyes filled with sorrow. Samuel understood as he walked into his bedroom. He knew what Tony had done and wanted desperately to warn Tony, to tell him how to break the curse, but he was too weak to speak. He could only hope that Tony would find the answers on his own. Tony wanted to apologize to his father, but before he could say a word, his father died. The river tested one's soul, revealing their deepest fears and regrets. Samuel had faced these trials and decided that the wealth was not worth the suffering it brought. He vowed to protect Tony from ever discovering the river's dark secret. After Samuel's death, Tony was consumed with grief and confusion. He started having strange dreams about the river and the dwarfs. Determined to understand his father's suffering, Tony searched through Samuel's old belongings in the attic. He found a dusty old chest filled with letters, journals, and photographs that revealed more about the river and its secrets. Tony couldn't shake the feeling that his father knew more about the mysterious river. The entries were dated many years ago, and they detailed his father's encounters with the river. Journal entry June 15, 1980. Today, I ventured to the riverbank just as my father had instructed. The water shimmered under the moonlight, and I felt an inexplicable pull towards it. As I stepped into the water, I noticed the crocodiles parted for me, just as my father had said they would. I was terrified, but I knew I had to continue. In June 20, 1980, I met the dwarfs today. They spoke of an ancient pact made by our ancestors. The river is a gateway to a hidden world, a place where our family's true wealth lies. But it comes with a price. The dwarfs gave me a fishing rod and told me to catch fish. The more I catched, the more wealth I would gain. But I must be careful, for the river tests one's soul. July 5, 1980. I caught a fish today, but it wasn't a fish at all. It was a vision of my own father, struggling and in pain. I released him, but the vision haunts me. The dwarfs told me that the river reveals our deepest fears and regrets. It is a test of our character and our willingness to face the truth. August 1, 1980. I have decided to stop visiting the river. The wealth it offers is not worth the pain and suffering it brings. I must protect my family from this curse. I will hide this journal and hope that my son never has to face the same trials. Tony now understood why his father had never spoken about the river. It was a burden he had carried alone, trying to protect his family from its curse. Tony's heart raced as he read the entries. His father had faced the same trials and fears that he had. Tony felt a deep sense of regret and sorrow for not understanding his father's struggles sooner. The river was not just a source of wealth but a test of one's soul and character. Tony realized that his father's swollen tongue and sad look were connected to the river's trials. With this newfound knowledge, Tony decided to honor his father's wishes. He would not seek the river's wealth and break the generation curse. He told himself to focus on building a life based on honesty and hard work. He vowed to break the cycle and protect his future family from the river's curse. As for his friend Chika, he and Tony were no more close friends. The incident made their friendship questionable. Chika kept a distance because he knew Tony now knew his source of wealth, and Tony felt his father would still be alive if he didn't listen to Chika as a friend. At least Chika should have warned him. The moral of the story is a warning about choosing friends wisely. The company you keep can significantly impact your life, so it's important to surround yourself with trustworthy and positive influences and be cautious about easy wealth, as it often comes with a price, such as problems or misfortunes can sometimes be passed down through generations, and recognizing these patterns is the first step to breaking them. Poor decisions can lead to long-term regret and ongoing issues, as seen with Tony's recurring problem with losing phones. Every time he got a new phone he lost it, so he eventually stopped using phones altogether. Thank you for watching Granny G's stories. If you found this story interesting, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more stories.